Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge. Today, we are honored to have Ambassador Rafi Zaman Siddiqui with us, who is our colleague and badmate from the Foreign Service of Pakistan. He is the grandson of Chaudhry Khaliqur Zaman, an old veteran of Muslim League and a very close colleague of Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who had served as governor of then East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, in the early 50s, and then later on also served as an ambassador of Pakistan to Indonesia. The topic we'll be discussing today will be Bangladesh. With me in this program, we have Ambassador Bukhari. To start with, I'll be asking questions to our colleague, since he has served in Bangladesh, which was his last posting as an ambassador and a high commissioner, and before that, he had served in another capacity. First of all, Rafi, welcome to the program. Today, since there's so much about Bangladesh which we can talk and discuss, to start with, I think the first thing we like to talk about is your experience in Bangladesh, because in Pakistan there's so much talked about from both sides, and then I think we'll continue with the program.
Thank you very much, Tanveer, for having me over, and thank you, Ambassador Bukhari, also. You know, I have some very deep familial association also with Bangladesh. As you mentioned that my grandfather was governor of East Bengal in the early 50s, and some of my other relatives had also served as, you know, assistant commissioners in the early 60s. And then on top of that, I had this privilege of serving in Dhaka twice. First from 2002 to 2006 in my capacity as a councillor there, and then later as High Commissioner to Bangladesh from 2016 to 2018. And both the experiences were varied in different ways. When I arrived in Dhaka on my first posting, BNP was at the helm of affairs and Khaleda Zia was the Prime Minister, so our relations were pretty hunky-dory, and we had no issues as such. While on my last posting, when I was sent as High Commissioner, things had changed dramatically. And not only politically speaking, but physically speaking as well. Dhaka was a total change of scene. I had seen a phenomenal, development in that overly crowded city, and the traffic signals which were there in my previous posting had kind of, had increased manifold. But of late, with the introduction of this new Metro 9 in Dhaka, I am given to understand that things have come under control. But coming back to your first question about my experiences, I would say that both the times I received a surfeit of goodwill from the people of Bangladesh. And I have no hesitation in saying that of all my postings abroad, Dhaka stands out. And it really, I can say it without an iota of doubt, that it turned out for me the best posting of my career. It was a very, very challenging assignment in the when I went there as High Commissioner. But at the same time, I would say that notwithstanding the challenges, the place also offered opportunities to build some bridges of understanding. I would say that because of the reservoir of love that I got from the people of Bangladesh, made my compensated for the challenges that I encountered. And I may like to add that I did not have much access in the government quarters like my successor has. It was very, very difficult to, make interaction with government officials. Like during my entire stay, I was only fortunate enough that, save the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, I was not received by any government officials as such, but some of them whom I'm extremely grateful to, I would like to add that one was the advisor on international affairs to the Prime Minister, Gohar Rizvi, and there were some others who, who were very, welcoming. But my interaction with the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, turned out to be I would say, it was like the best thing that could happen to any ambassador in Bangladesh. And especially to the Pakistani ambassador, to the Pakistani High Commissioner. Of course, it was like a very important event. The meeting which was given to me after a span of, say, about 6-7 months, and that meeting, particularly with Prime Minister, lasted for over 70 minutes. And this became the headline in the newspapers and on the television, on the electronic media, that Pakistani High Commissioner received by Prime Minister for 70 minutes, which was, of course, not very, liked by other.
Was it in the early days of your posting?
No, it was like after 6 months or so,
Okay.
6-7 months or so.
Okay.
And then the other thing which, and she was extremely honey and sugar with me. She was extraordinarily nice to me, and I, brought to her attention all the issues that we were encountering, and she patiently listened to those. And there are certain issues which normally, you have been ambassadors yourselves, and you know that you do not raise at the level of Prime Minister. But since all the quarters were close to us, so I thought that I must avail this opportunity. Yeah, and bring to her attention. And as I said, particularly the visa issue. And I told her that we have serious difficulties, and she inquired if it was reciprocal too. I said, no, we are very, very generous and magnanimous in our, with regard to visas. So in general, this is what I may, bring to attention.
Rafi, you have served as the High Commissioner of Pakistan to a great country, I must say.
Absolutely.
I have also served over there.
Yes.
In fact, you replaced me
Yes, absolutely.
as consular in Dhaka
Yes.
way back in 2002, 2003.
That's right.
No doubt, it's a very challenging post in Dhaka. 52 years have passed since independence of Bangladesh. But, Pakistan-Bangladesh relationship is still guided by internal and regional politics. Regional countries are involved, particularly India. We share our, common aspirations with our brothers in Bangladesh, but still our relationship is not, I would say, even cordial. How do you comment on that?
Riaz, I agree with you to quite an extent. And what you have said is quite, absolutely true. That unfortunately, the relations between our two countries have seen ups and downs, mostly downs, I would say, rather than. We have seen improvement in our bilateral ties when BNP is in the government. And unfortunately, the relations take a nosedive when Awami League is in the government. And basic reason for that is that the party carries the political baggage of 1971. And as you said, that there are extraneous factors, and Indian factor plays a critical role in that. So, but Bangladesh is a paradox. There is so much of goodwill for Pakistan amongst the people that sometimes you wonder that whether are you really living in Dhaka? Are you really, because there are totally lopsided views with regard to the government as well as to the people of Bangladesh. For instance, I will quote that whenever there is a cricket match between Pakistan and India, and in case we win the match, the Dhaka literally bursts out.
Yeah,
I remember
right.
that when I went to one of the parties, just it was I think in 2020 when there was a match in Manchester which we won against India. I just couldn't believe it that I'm on the streets of Dhaka.
Yeah.
People were literally celebrating, and I was attending a party where so many Bangladeshis rushed up to me and congratulated me that, wow, you have defeated India.
We are very close to each other.
We are
in
very
that way.
close to each other, but at the same time, as I said, that there are difficulties and challenges, so they are very much there. For instance, SARC remains a dead horse.
Yeah.
You see, it was an organization which was established on the premise that it would bring all the regional countries. But India has been the main spoiler in that very particular, with regard to that very particular institution. And especially after coming into being of BIMSTEC and other regional organizations, SARC has become redundant. It's like a dead horse. It needs a lot of whipping to make it gallop.
Do you think it is Bangladesh's choice to have good relations with India, or Bangladesh is forced? Because, as you know, on three sides there is India, and on the fourth side, which is Bay of Bengal, again it is India. So do you think Bangladesh has a choice to have a relationship with other countries while ignoring, Indian dominance?
No, of course, Bangladesh is a sovereign state, and it can make its own decision. It's not that it is going to follow India in letter and spirit, but at the same time, we need to acknowledge the fact that India has played a critical role in the formation of Bangladesh. It has. During the 71 war, the Mukti Bahini's training, etc. I mean, India's involvement was deep, and its ingress is deep even today. Economically speaking, politically speaking, it is a giant. Bangladesh is like in a cocoon of India.
So can we say that Bangladesh's relationship with Pakistan lacks cordiality because of India?
I would say that to quite an extent. Okay. That, for instance, there has been no high-level contact between our two. There has been no, formal foreign secretary-level consultations. These mechanisms, like foreign secretary-level consultations or JEC,
Joint Economic Commission,
they have been lying, dead.
Yeah.
Or we keep on hearing that after some time, or after after a few days, that like during Imran Khan's regime, I was told, and I remember I was in a program with some of the intellectuals, and they were extremely, very, very optimistic, and I think rightly so. But my own view in that, about 2 years ago in that matter was, and they suggested that the meeting would take place soon between the former Prime Minister Imran Khan. But you see, we start reading too much into these things. We have to, read, we have to be very, very cautious in our understanding of issues. We cannot jump the conclusions that if there's the Imran Khan and Sheikh Hasina has talked on phone once, and we make a like mountain out of a mole, which in my view is not right.
Okay, Rafi, you just talked about the baggage of history. How much this will carry on or continue with this generation, because this party is in power? Do you think till the time they are in power, the relations between Pakistan and India and Bangladesh will not improve? Or the present setup, because there are still people who were in the war of independence of Bangladesh or whatever. So this thing is it continued, or has been given to the next generation also, the way is it?
Tanveer, I would say to quite an extent, yes.
It
has impacted, but what I always feel, that being an optimist diplomat, former diplomat, I feel that things never remain the same. Things keep changing. Sometimes you come across very, very difficult issues, and there are times when you are able to overcome them. In this regard, I would not blame only Bangladesh. I think all of us are responsible. We need to teach our new generation the true history of our relations with Bangladesh. We have to do the same, and Bangladeshis have to do the same. And in this regard, my own, I strongly believe that we need to open doors to each other, especially to our younger generations. And unfortunately, in this matter, Bangladeshis are not forthcoming, because there is no, visas are so difficult. Even with diplomats, even with, while I keep saying, I keep reiterating it, that of all the three countries, Pakistan, India and Bangladesh, we are extremely, extremely magnanimous when it comes to visas. We do not put up hindrances, or we do not put obstacles, whereas with the case of India particularly, and now in Bangladesh, that I think it's easier to get a visa for any European country, and it's difficult to get for Bangladesh. So the doors are blocked. And this, let me just, a last point, that I, in fact, brought this particular issue to the Prime Minister, that we need to open our doors to each other, to our new generations, to understand our views, to cooperate with each other. So this is what I feel that we have to work, and both the countries.
Yes, you very clearly mentioned. You think their policies or the party line is exclusively Bangladeshis, or it has a great influence of Indian involvement in their policy making?
I think great involvement of India.
In all spheres.
In every sphere, I would say. Indian influence is writ large on Bangladesh. Yes.
Rafi, there has been a shift, brought into our foreign policy last year. Shift from geopolitics to geoeconomics. Does that offer any opportunity in bringing Bangladesh and Pakistan closer to each other in terms of economic and trade relationship?
Now, I'm coming to a very, very sensitive issue that basically is the main hurdle or the main blockage in our rapprochement with Dhaka, and that is an apology issue.
That we will discuss later.
No, but this is what is linked to that.
Okay.
Any issue that you talk about comes to that.
Okay.
And that remains the main stumbling block in our relations. And the Bangladeshis makes no bones about it, and they always, raise it, and they always wish to bring it to the main.
Let me know what is their official position.
Like what exactly
on
do they want?
1974 tripartite agreement signed amongst India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh.
Yeah.
As far as that agreement is concerned, apology issue was settled over there.
And even and President Musharraf is and then what exactly do they want?
They want a straightforward apology. No regrets. That is not enough for them.
In what form?
I mean, like they want it in writing that we should say.
Have they ever shared any draft with you?
No, they have not. Not
because
to my knowledge.
I asked someone when President Musharraf was coming, and he signed,
he regretted
remarks.
the events of 1970.
Exactly. That is almost apology.
And that has been, sorry to interrupt you, that has been coming also, that came from Bhutto, that came from Ziaul Haq, that came from Musharraf.
Yeah.
They all regretted the events.
Exactly.
So every time they regretted, the Bangladeshis got the impression that it is a step towards an apology, that regrets would lead to it. There has been no wordings as such. I have not seen it. I have no idea about that. But apology remains the main stumbling block in our. And as you said, the tripartite agreement according to us, but that is totally, that does not figure anywhere in Bangladesh.
Okay.
That does not figure anywhere.
Do they realize that, if apology issue is to be discussed, then, those who were, killed during their war of liberation, West Pakistanis, Bengalis and Biharis, a large number of them, will they take the responsibility?
I doubt it very much.
Will they apologize?
I doubt it very much.
Will they tender apology?
I doubt it very much.
So it will be a one way.
It would be a one-way thing.
Yep, you're
Yeah,
right
please.
in a sense that just a point which has come into my mind is regarding, if you remember the instructor pilot of Rashid Manas, he was buried in Maripur base, and during our service in the Musharraf's era, the government of Bangladesh asked for his remains, and which we gave to the government of Bangladesh with our understanding that they will be quietly taken and buried there.
Okay.
But I think on arrival, he was given a national hero's welcome and all that. I'm sure you're privy to.
Yeah.
So maybe only they have the expectations. Don't we have any expectations in a way that they also try to reach out, as you've been mentioning. But if they've completely blocked the path, so how do we go from here?
Yeah, that's a sad part, Tanveer. That you see, actually, 71 is such a sad and bloody chapter of our history that has deeply impacted both the countries. I would say more Bangladeshis than us. So their feelings of animosity or angst against Pakistan is much, much deeper than us. We have no issues as such with Bangladesh. I mean, nobody in Pakistan even bothers about it, to be very honest now. But in Dhaka, if you live in Dhaka, and if you stay, and especially some days, like 16th December,
December, March,
when the army action started, you see from like December, as you approach March, there is a constant, the newspapers, the media,
hammering of
it keeps happening. And for a Pakistani diplomat, I think these are challenging times for them. Like, when
Rafi,
I was...
no doubt, 1971 is a reality. Okay, 52 years have passed, and it still, haunts the two nations, I must say. And we both are sovereign states.
Yeah.
Do you think there is any, you see any opportunity for both the countries to overcome this bitterness?
You see, you have to take a very, very, how should I say, very bold decisions by the leaderships, especially of Bangladesh.
Okay.
To realize that continuing living in past would only bring bad memories and would only remain it would only lead to further divisions between our two nations and our two countries, unless and until in my meeting I did not really discuss this issue particularly with the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, but I did say to her that now she is the most seasoned politician in the region. And she had the capacity, because if you recall, during when we had these nuclear explosions, she took a lead and she came to Pakistan as well as she visited. In fact, she herself reminded.
You are right, Rafi. The ruling party, Bangladesh Awami League, under Sheikh Hasina, she still views Pakistan through the prism of 1971. Apology, reparations, division of assets. These are the three issues which they take on all forums, bilateral forums. I have attended a number of consultations, the last one in Islamabad. This issue was also there. But do you see anything the two states can do to overcome these three issues which are blocking us in a way?
Riaz, I would say that during my entire stay, both the times, whether it's in my capacity as a councillor and then later as High Commissioner, reparations and the other was assets, they never came up. Because you see, or for that matter, the issue of Biharis, you see the time has taken over these issues. Now nobody talks about. The only issue that keeps on, especially on media as well as in the press and by the nationalists, Bangladeshi nationalists, the only issue that remains on the table is that of apology. I did not hear about assets, I did not hear about reparations. So the only hope I feel, and I feel that it will also probably compel the leadership also to take into account the desire of the people of Bangladesh. And it is very forthcoming towards Pakistan. So I feel very optimistic that perhaps if not soon, then later, or you never know, because international politics, or for that matter, these geostrategic relations between the nations can change overnight also and can bring positivity in our relations. So with regard to that, I'm pretty hopeful that probably we will be able to mend fences with Bangladesh, and someday we'll be able to join hands in also reviving SAARC, if at all, with all my doubts though.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rafi. Ladies and gentlemen, you must have heard our discussion. The purpose of discussion was because Bangladesh is an issue which is always discussed at certain forums, and both the nations have to understand that we, being regional countries, have to move forward. And if these issues are not settled by this generation or by the next generation, I think it will not be in their, I would say, favor. So keep watching Ambassador's Lounge and please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.